So this is part 2 of the series of going over how to design your own Spoonflower fabric, specifically border prints, so you can make them printable and look nice for Spoonflower. So in this second video here, I'm going over, we have our finished repeatable border print, and now I'm explaining basically the logistics of how it needs to be done and what it needs to look like and all that other stuff in order for it to look good. So if you see some discrepancies here where the original one was sort of pink and this one is more peach, that's just because I made an executive decision to do it more in a peach color as opposed to a ultra cutesy pink, because that is just more of my style. I have always been more of a classic Lolita, so I kind of opted to steer clear of the pink. If you do like the very pink version of Aurora Valentine, I actually do have some products up on my Teespring store that I used the more purple to pink color combination on some products there. So let's get into this video. So I'm going to go over some things about sizing right now. So first of all, we have this image turned sideways because this is the one that I used in order to test print how the fabric would look. So when you're test printing on Spoonflower, all you need to do is order something like a fat quarter, and the fat quarter is typically about the 20 something inches by 10 inches. It's like 26 by 10 or something. It's just a long portion of it. So since it's usually just like this actually. So yeah, so the fat quarter is going to typically print like this. It's going to print in this direction. So if you upload it sideways like this, don't worry, it's not going to print like this. It'll print like this. So because you want it to print like that, you kind of decide first of all if the thing that you have in your print, in your segment, is going to be how you want it to look. So since I wasn't 100% sure how far into this it would go, I believe that it goes about to here. I believe it goes to half this length because it's 26 inches and they said it's about 10 inches. So 10 or 11 inches is about here. So I knew it would print at least 2 of these little panels. Because of that, as you can see here, I took this side of the print and I made it slightly lighter. See, you can see it better right here. I made this side of the print lighter, this side of the print slightly darker, because I wasn't sure when it prints if it was going to be too rich, even though it looked kind of washed out here, or if I needed to darken it more. So, and whenever you print a fat quarter, it doesn't need to look like, you can do weird little things like this. You can make one side one color, the other side another color, especially if you're not sure how the colors are going to print, or if you haven't settled on a color yourself, like what you want. Okay, so the next thing also is making sure that these items, when you do the fat quarter, it'll make sure that these items in your border print are going to come out to the size you want. Now, I've done this long enough that I was pretty darn sure when I sized these that they would look the size I want. And the way I did that is because, like I said before, it all comes down to math. Everything that you do with Lolita is math related. So if you want to be able to get some of that logistics out of the way before you get your fat quarter printed, so you don't have to buy multiple fat quarters just to make sure that the sizing of this looks correct, remember that most Lolita skirts are between 21 and 26 inches. Anything longer would be considered T-length, I would say. Even getting close to 26 inches would probably be T-length, which is probably why I picked this one. Aurora Valentine is a little bit T-length. The one side of it is 26 inches, and the good thing about that is if you wanted to do a shorter style Lolita dress, if you want to go more towards that 21, 22 inch range, you can just cut off this part of it when you're sewing the dress together. You can just basically, you don't have to use this part, but you can't make it bigger is the thing. You can only make it shorter. So I basically picked the satin fabric because I knew 26 inches would be a nice good length for a T-length dress. Like I said, anything longer is definitely in the T-length realm. If you go anything shorter, I would say typical standard Lolita, especially sweet Lolita, it can be somewhere between 21 and 23 inches typically. I've even, let me tell you guys, Crystal Dream Carnival, the skirt for Crystal Dream Carnival is 17 inches in length. It is so short. That is like salopette short. It is unbelievable. But once again, Sweet Lolita tends to be on the shorter side. Classic Lolita tends to be on the longer side. So since what I designed was more in the realm of classic Lolita, or maybe something along the lines of like what Baby the Starshine Bright would do, Alice and the Pirates, I wanted something that's slightly longer length. So, like I was saying before, if you want to make sure the sizing of all of your elements are correct before you print, you can kind of rule out some of this by going ahead and using your selector tool right here, and go ahead and just like select the size of the frame. So if I want to know if the length and the width of this little border piece here is going to be ridiculously huge when I print it, like is it going to be the size of my hand, or is it going to be like the size of like my head? You can look over here at the bottom and it shows you size. Okay, so it shows you the size of the thing that you've selected, and I click on inches. Okay, so as you can see here, it's the number changes as I adjust the size, because this is the size of the item selected, and it's telling me that it's about 7.6 by 5 inches. Now, if you're not sure, if you say like you see a Lolita dress that you really like and it's got a cute border print that's kind of similar to this, you can just go over and measure that border print with your measure. Like just take one of the little cameo panels on the dress that you currently like and just measure it. Is it 3 inches? Is it 5 inches? Is it 7 inches? And then use that as your guideline, so when you have it in here, you'll know that, okay, the length is 7.6 inches. That matches the dress, you know, that I was looking at, and by 5 inches. So for me, yeah, I wanted these to be bigger. I think about 7.5 inches is acceptable. I also don't typically want the border print to go up more than 10 inches or so above the top. So as you can see, once I hem it, especially if I move it up to where the hem is, it's about 11 inches from top to bottom. That's an acceptable range. So basically the most crazy part of my border print is not taking up more than half of the width or the length of the dress. And that's because it'll just look crazy if you do. If you move this border print way too high up here and then you get it printed, you're gonna see it doesn't flow well aesthetically. It's gonna feel like it's missing something. You know, it's gonna just look too busy. So I would say general rule of thumb is make sure that anything you have on your border print, leave it below this 10 or 11 inch mark. Okay, the 10 or 11 inch mark. So like I said, since the skirt overall is 26 inches, it's totally okay that this is only about 11 or 12 inches, or yeah, it's 11 inches. So it's less than half, okay? So if you're not sure, say like you want your dress to be 20 inches, okay? If you want your skirt to be 20 inches. Also, by the way, if you want your skirt to be 20 inches, make sure you factor in an inch or two for your hem. So if you want 20 inches, you're still gonna need to make sure that that the border print is within a 21 or 22 inch area, because you want to be able to accommodate for things like your sewing. So many times early on when I first got into Lolita, before I even owned Truly Darling, I forget a lot about making sure you leave room for that kind of stuff. So make sure you leave room for that. So that's a basic good way to scale that. Same thing with this over here, this little cute trim I have at the bottom. I really wanted to make sure this was only about an inch, maybe an inch and a half. I didn't want it to be huge and crazy. And as you can see here, the size says 9.6 by 2.1. So that tells me that it's almost an inch. It's almost 1 inch tall, and that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want it to be any bigger or any smaller. Alrighty, so next we're gonna go into how you want to basically format this for printing. So we're not even done yet. We are almost there, but this is only part of it. Okay, this is only a little tidbit. It's only a little section. So here, this one is going to be what your file is going to basically look like when you upload it. There we have it. So, as I was saying before, where I said your pattern needs to repeat itself, but it needs to flip. It needs to be flipped. So as you can see, you got your little moon baby over here, and you got your little moon baby over here. So they're on opposite sides. It's not on the same side. We're not, we're basically mirroring it. Okay, and that's because I've made this mistake before. When I flipped it over, the Truly Darling words right here were backwards. So if you want to make sure that that your text is facing the correct direction, and if you need to do that, basically you use this transform tool right here to make sure you know what you're doing. And you can just double check it by doing that. Basically, you use the transform tool, you check it. Okay, good. It says it's both both of them say it the correct way. So the reason why I don't recommend that you originally design your fabric like this is because in the end, since you're just repeating it, there's no point in working in a file that is this large, especially if you're doing layers, and it can just get confusing, basically. I tried doing it this way with Morgan, my dear, years ago, and it was just, the file was too huge, it was just too confusing. It's better to get all of your details and everything done first, then take the flattened image of how you like it looking, and then just go ahead and take it, and then just open a file that's twice the size and then flip it over. So as you can see with this, I'm going to go ahead and show you. Now, when we look at this, see, before I go ahead and upload to Spoonflower, I went ahead and just changed it down to 150 dpi because this file was huge, and because it's in color especially, it is huge, okay? If you do something in black and white or anything like that, then the file's not going to hold as much on it. Like if you do grayscale file, it's not gonna take up as much space or use as much. But when you're doing a color file, it can be pretty big. So as you can see now, it is 25 by 54. I'm gonna go ahead and flip this back. Okay. So yes, this is the direction and the way that Spoonflower is going to want you to print it or to send it to them if you want to be able to do a border print. And the reason why I do it like this is because this is how it'll print. Basically the yardage will repeat right here, right here. So this, the design itself will go like this, and then each yard added on, and I'll show you when I go into Spoonflower, it'll go that direction, okay? So it also really helps because, like I said, you can get a good idea of how you'll be able to cut this side, use it for your dress, and then cut this side and be able to use it for your dress. Saving it, I believe, is a JPEG is what is, so it fits in Spoonflower's size requirements. I believe you have to do as a JPEG. I think the PNGs are too large. If there is an option to do as PNG, I just recommend it over JPEG just because PNG is higher quality. But if you have to do as JPEG, just make sure when you do the save right here that you do advanced options, okay, and then make sure you select best quality. Usually on GIMP it'll automatically have it saved the smallest file. Just pick best quality and then go ahead and also make sure your quality little marker here is at 100%. That's it for this video. In the next one, I'll be showing you guys what it looks like to upload it to Spoonflower, and you can see basically all the little logistics and fun stuff for that. This is it for today's video. Like I said before, I still have a sock giveaway going on. Make sure you are following me on Instagram, you are subscribed to this YouTube channel, and drop me a comment as well, and that way you'll be eligible for the sock giveaway. Also, if you want to be able to get extremely discounted Spoonflower fabric, I'm going to have a link down in the description as well for some yardage and some scraps from some old Truly Darling stuff that I used to do, some old dresses I made and things like that. If you want anything like that, I'm going to have a link to my eBay shop down below for that. On my Teespring store, you can get Aurora Valentine on some other cutesy things like your phone, your socks, sweaters, t-shirts, things like that. So I'll have links for all this fun stuff down in the description below. Let me know how you like this video. Drop it a like if you can, help support the channel. And I will see you guys in the next video.